The night was dark and still, as the American hospital morgue settled into an eerie silence. The only sound that could be heard was the distant hum of the building's ventilation system, echoing through empty hallways. John Anderson, a seasoned night guard, patrolled the hospital grounds, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. The hospital, once bustling with the hustle and bustle of life-saving activities, had now succumbed to the quiet of the night. John, a middle-aged man with graying hair and a rugged demeanor, had been working as the night guard for the hospital for over a decade. He knew every nook and cranny of the building, but tonight was different. As he approached the morgue, a shiver ran down his spine. The flickering lights in the hallway cast eerie shadows on the walls, creating an unsettling atmosphere. John took a deep breath, trying to shake off the unease that gripped him, and reached for the heavy metal door leading to the morgue. The morgue itself was a cold, sterile room with stainless steel tables and rows of body drawers lining the walls. John had grown accustomed to the sight of lifeless bodies during his time as the night guard, but tonight was different. Tonight, something felt off. He scanned the room with his flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness. The cold air seemed to intensify, sending shivers down John's spine. As he walked further into the morgue, he noticed a faint whisper in the air, like a distant murmur of voices. "Hello?" John called out, his voice echoing in the empty room. No response. He continued his patrol, his senses on high alert. The morgue drawers, usually silent and motionless, seemed to creak and groan as if bearing an unseen weight. John approached one of the drawers cautiously, his breath visible in the frigid air. He hesitated before pulling it open, revealing a lifeless body covered by a white sheet. The pale face of the deceased stared blankly into the void, but something about it made John uneasy. As he turned away, he caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of his eye. The shadows seemed to dance, taking on shapes that defied logic. John's heart raced as he tried to dismiss the growing feeling of dread. He muttered to himself, "Just my imagination playing tricks on me." But the whispers persisted, growing louder and more distinct. John strained to make out the words, feeling a strange energy in the air. The morgue, once a place of solemn silence, now felt alive with an otherworldly presence. As he continued his rounds, John's flashlight flickered, casting long, distorted shadows on the morgue walls. The temperature in the room plummeted, and the air became thick with an unsettling energy. He quickened his pace, his senses heightened, as if he was being watched by unseen eyes. Suddenly, the lights in the morgue went out, plunging John into complete darkness. He fumbled for his flashlight, panic rising within him. In the pitch-black room, he could hear the whispers growing louder, surrounding him like an ominous symphony. A dim, otherworldly glow emanated from one of the body drawers. John, hesitant but driven by an inexplicable force, approached the source of the light. As he opened the drawer, a blinding light enveloped him, and a spectral figure emerged from the glow. The figure was that of a woman, her form translucent and ethereal. She looked at John with hollow eyes, and a mournful expression crossed her face. The whispers grew into agonized moans, and John felt a wave of sorrow wash over him. "Help us," the ghostly figure pleaded, her voice echoing in John's mind. "Release us from this eternal night." John, paralyzed with fear, could only nod in response. The morgue seemed to come alive with apparitions, each one sharing a tale of tragedy and unfinished business. The hospital, it appeared, held the spirits of those who had met untimely ends, their souls trapped in the limbo of the morgue. Determined to unravel the mystery, John delved into the hospital's archives, uncovering forgotten tales of malpractice, cover-ups, and unresolved deaths. The spirits, it seemed, were seeking justice and closure. Night after night, John listened to their stories, piecing together the puzzle of the hospital's haunted past. As he delved deeper into the mysteries, the malevolent presence that had gripped the morgue slowly lifted, and the spirits found solace. In the end, John became the reluctant savior of the lost souls, a guardian between the worlds of the living and the dead. The hospital, once a place of despair, found redemption through the actions of a humble night guard. The whispers faded, and the morgue returned to its silent, lifeless state. John continued his duties, knowing that the spirits were at peace. The hospital, however, bore the scars of its haunted history, a reminder of the thin veil between the worlds that John had come to know all too well. As dawn broke and the first rays of sunlight bathed the hospital in a warm glow, John felt a sense of closure. The night guard who had once patrolled the haunted morgue had become a reluctant hero, bridging the gap between the living and the dead. Story 2. In the small town of Ravenswood, nestled deep within the heart of rural America, there stood an imposing mansion known as Blackthorn Manor. Its towering, ivy-covered walls cast ominous shadows, and its rusty gates groaned with every creak as they swung open to reveal the long, winding driveway leading up to the grand entrance. The year was 1923, and Blackthorn Manor had a dark history. Legend had it that the mansion was cursed, and its former inhabitants had met untimely and gruesome fates. Despite the warnings, the Eldridge family decided to make it their home. The patriarch, Samuel Eldridge, believed the rumors to be mere superstitions, dismissing the warnings as tales concocted by the townsfolk to keep outsiders away. As the Eldridge family settled into their new abode, they hired a night guard named Benjamin Hayes to watch over the mansion during the eerie hours of darkness. Benjamin, a burly man with a weathered face and a hardened demeanor, was no stranger to strange occurrences. He had served in the military and had faced horrors that left most men haunted, yet nothing could have prepared him for the malevolence that lurked within Blackthorn Manor. On Benjamin's first night, the air hung thick with an unnatural stillness. The mansion seemed to whisper secrets that only the shadows understood. As he patrolled the grand hallways, the floorboards creaked beneath his heavy boots, echoing in the silent night. The dim glow of his lantern cast long, dancing shadows on the walls, and the portraits of long-gone Eldridge ancestors stared down with hollow eyes. Each night brought a new sense of foreboding. Strange noises echoed through the mansion. Footsteps that mimicked no earthly rhythm, whispers that spoke of ancient curses, and the chilling howls of a distant wind that seemed to carry with it the anguished wails of the mansion's tormented past. One night, as Benjamin walked the perimeter of the property, he noticed a flickering light in the overgrown cemetery behind the mansion. Intrigued, he approached cautiously. To his horror, he discovered a group of hooded figures engaged in a sinister ritual. Their chanting filled the air, and the flickering candles cast eerie shadows on the tombstones. Benjamin's instincts kicked in, and he retreated silently to the mansion. His military training told him that something wicked was afoot, and he couldn't dismiss the feeling that Blackthorn Manor was a pawn in a malevolent game played by forces beyond his understanding. As the nights wore on, the mansion's malevolence intensified. Whispers turned into agonized screams that reverberated through the halls. Doors slammed shut on their own, trapping Benjamin in narrow corridors that seemed to shift and morph, leading him deeper into the labyrinthine heart of Blackthorn Manor. Haunted apparitions began to materialize, the ghostly visages of former Eldridge family members, their eyes hollow and accusing. Each specter seemed to carry the weight of the curse that had befallen them, and Benjamin felt the oppressive darkness closing in around him. Driven by an unyielding sense of duty, Benjamin delved into the mansion's history. He discovered that the Eldridge family had a sordid past, dabbling in forbidden rituals and dark arts to attain wealth and power. The curse that plagued Blackthorn Manor was a consequence of their insatiable greed and thirst for dominance. As Benjamin unraveled the dark secrets, he stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within the bowels of the mansion. Within the chamber, an ancient tome lay open, its pages filled with eldritch symbols and unholy incantations. The air in the room felt charged with malevolence, and the shadows seemed to writhe with a life of their own. Realization struck Benjamin: the only way to break the curse was to confront the source of the darkness head-on. Armed with newfound knowledge, he prepared for a final confrontation with the malevolent force that held Blackthorn Manor in its icy grip. The night of the reckoning arrived, and the mansion pulsated with an otherworldly energy. Benjamin descended into the hidden chamber, where the air grew thick with an oppressive aura. As he recited the incantations to banish the malevolence, the room trembled with the force of 1,000 tortured souls. The hooded figures from the cemetery materialized, their faces twisted in rage. The spirits of the Eldridge family wailed in agony, and the very fabric of reality seemed to tear apart. Benjamin fought against the forces that sought to drag him into the abyss, his every step a battle against the encroaching darkness. In a blinding flash of ethereal light, the curse was broken. The mansion, once a breeding ground for malevolence, stood silent and still. The hooded figures dissipated into nothingness, and the tortured spirits found peace in the afterlife. As the first light of dawn broke, Benjamin emerged from the depths of Blackthorn Manor, exhausted but victorious. The curse that had plagued the Eldridge family for generations was finally lifted, and the town of Ravenswood was free from the grip of supernatural terror. Yet, as the townsfolk celebrated their newfound freedom, Benjamin couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness had merely retreated, biding its time for another opportunity to manifest. The memory of Blackthorn Manor lingered in his mind, a haunting reminder that some curses are etched into the very fabric of reality, waiting for the right moment to resurface and plunge the world into darkness once more.